literally just rotate your artwork by 1 degree. And then the lines are actually running like that. So now when the printer looks at it like that, it's not looking at a straight line. It's just, and I'll print out a full page of Flower of Life patterns in a minute and we'll show you what I mean. That really helps stop the catching. Also, the top corners, I find that if you've got a dark part of an image at both ends of there, obviously the whole print head lights up at the beginning of the stencil and it hasn't had time to sort of start fading, and that's what will crinkle it as well.
Right.
And so it's just little things like that, just like little tips for, rotate your artwork a little bit, make sure it's not dead straight on the page, make sure it's off a little bit. You're going to cut it out anyway. It doesn't need to be straight on the page, does it? You know what I mean? And that'll help the printer out because it's just a long, thin strip of print head, and that is what seems to do it. I just think the paper, if you just imagine if we just got a bit of hot wire now and just put that onto that bit of paper, it would crinkle all up, and that's effectively what we're doing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, it just gets a little bit hot right across the stencil. If it's only over here, it won't do it. If it's only one bit, that's why it prints some stencils perfectly, and they go, why didn't it print that one? It's because it doesn't suit the geometry of it. So just twist it a little bit.
Just a slight tilt and then...
Yeah, just a slight turn and away you go. I mean, it's the same with traditional designs as well, where you've got anywhere where you've got those parallel lines in your design, like if you've done a basket pattern or something like that, those lines are going to be parallel. If it's really big, you want to just twist it a little bit and it'll be absolutely fine.
Great. Lastly, the troubleshooting.
Yeah.
A print through.
Yeah.
And there's marks.
Yeah.
Uneven marks on the prints.
Yeah.
So what would be the cause of that?
Okay, I call them rivers, right? So you get rivers. These, so you'll be printing out your image and there'll just be like a river of something down there. They're caused by the print head getting hotter than what the paper likes. And again, it comes back to what I'm saying about this little bit of kit was designed to print onto thermal paper, like fax paper. Mm-hmm. It's not really designed to print onto this, as none of them are, right? So any of them, and there's loads of models about, none of them were designed to do this job. There are certain things that you have to work with to go, well, this is just a limitation that we're going to hit with. Actually, the limitation is in the paper, because it's just a bit thin. If that was a few microns thicker, it would probably not be so much of a problem. So the rivers are caused when the print head, obviously the print head is getting hot, cool down, all the way through this A4 document, right? So here the print head's cold. By the time you get to the middle of the page, the print head's hot, right? So, and it's staying hot because it's been printing for the last 20 seconds and it's going to be printing for another 20 seconds.
So, yeah.
So the rivers don't tend to happen in the first half of the page. They happen in the bottom half of the page.
I've noticed that.
Because there's just residual heat from the print head. So that paper that's hitting, it's already hitting a hot print head. And so when it starts to print this information, the paper starts creasing. And what the rivers are caused by is the paper actually does that. It just creases up. And so this bit just cracks and it doesn't hit the paper because it moves away from the paper because it's creased. So you have to sort of think of it in sort of 3D. If I fold this like this, because it's the heat has hit it. So essentially it's doing something like that. So this isn't touching the paper anymore. So it can't transfer because we've got a crease. And it's the residual heat. I mean, you can see how sensitive it is to marks. That's just my fingers that have done that. So you get a bit of heat in it.
It's when you compare it to heat.
Yeah, when you compare that to heat, that's just my fingers that are marking it. Unfortunately, they're pretty unavoidable. One of the ways you can do it is give the print head a couple of minutes just to cool down so that you start from a fresh print out. Try not to get too much carbon in your design. If I'm printing a solid black square here, right, by the time I get to here, it's not going to want to print that solid black square second. But why do I want to print a solid black square?
If you know what colour it's going to be anyway.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you just print the outline of that and not have to print that in there? I don't think we need to have all this purple on the skin all the time. I think that we can reduce that. Tattooing is moving forward and we're pushing the envelope of what's possible. And I think the Brother Printer is part of that, But I also think that some of the stuff we're doing, we're already doing it the best way it could be done. And so now, these days, certainly, and it's the thing I recommend to everybody, is just put the information on the skin that you need. You don't need all of that. And if you're not printing as much purple, then you're not going to have the problem anyway, because you're just going to be printing essentially lines. And I think it's a better way of working, to be honest with you. So they are a little bit unavoidable, unfortunately. It's just heat versus this, and heat is always going to win. But I would suggest finding another workaround in your work to stop you putting such solid areas of purple on the skin.
So less purple, less problems?
Less purple, less problems. Less purple generally in your life, less problems, to be honest with you. I'm covered in that stuff now.
Okay, so there is a feature on this printer called stencil mode.
Yeah.
So what's that about? What does it do?
Okay, so stencil mode came about from some talks that I had with Brother probably a couple of years ago now, and I was saying, look, people are running into problems with them. As you can probably work out, I'm pretty tech savvy with this sort of stuff. This is pretty much my world, so I don't struggle with this, but I get it that you guys do. I've met loads of tattooists who struggle with computers and that, and loads of people do. So I started talking to Brother about, is there a way that we can make a button that they can just turn it into the thing that we need it to be, essentially a stencil mode, a stencil printer. So Brother very kindly included that in the last firmware update. If you're buying one of these and you want to make sure that stencil mode is enabled, and what I'm about to show you is what your printer's going to do, well, buy it from Killer, because they get these things out the box, update the firmware, turn stencil mode on for you. You don't have to do anything. We've literally just got this one out of a box and I'm about to print to it. I've done nothing. I've done nothing to the setup. So this is how it will arrive to you. And I think that, honestly, I think that's above and beyond the call of duty, because I wouldn't do it. I mean, like, you're on your own. So the one from Killer comes with the Brother stencil mode. Oh, mate, we're going to have to go and wash your hands in a bit. We should have worn gloves for this. And it comes with it on, right, which is brilliant. So I'm going to demo this on an iPad because this is my preferred device now. So this is the Brother iPrint and Scan app, and we're connected to the 763, which is the one that I recommend for all tattooists to use. Let's shut the lid. So I'm going to find a piece of artwork, something that's normally a little bit problematic for people. So let's do a repeating pattern on nearly a full A4 sheet. Right.
Okay.
So this would normally be quite a problematic. It will catch and it will rip the stencil up and all of that sort of stuff. So with my printer that I've got from Killer Ink, that's already been set up for me, that I don't have to worry about, I'm going to get my first piece of paper, take away the little brown sheet, get to the yellow sheet. Now, what's really nice about this is Spirit. We used to have to fold this back and like tear it off. Spirit have actually put like a perforated edge on it now for us, because so many of us are using it. I tend to do this just because after 10 years it's become habit, but they've actually put the perforation in there. You can get a nice clean cut. I'm not sending this to print. Remember what I told you. So we put this in. To be fair, I've become a bit of a dab hand at this over the years, but even I get it wrong every now and again. I'm going to feed this through a couple of times till I can see the paper coming out the end.
Yep.
Like that. Lift the flap up. Lift that a little straighten up. All right. And then I'm going to send this to print. Now, I'm going to print this too light. The lines are a little bit fine, and I'm going to show you what happens when you get a really faint print. So we're going to set the density to 4, right, deliberately, because I know it won't print properly like this, and I'm going to send it to the printer. So I hit print. We've got to wait a couple of minutes just while it rips it. You'll see your data light comes on. So that tells you that your printer's working. And it's receiving the data. Obviously, it's receiving it over Bluetooth. Works with a Samsung tablet. I've seen it work with one of them. Works with the Microsoft Surface as well. And off we go. Now listen, you can hear that. That's where there are parallel lines happening. Now, I have rotated this 1 degree. So it's not catching, but it is still noticing them. All right, so this will be too light. Okay. Now, depending on your preference, it might be that if you're doing very, very pale dot work and you don't want too much purple on the skin, you might think that that's perfectly okay. I think that there's a couple of areas of detail in here where I might be struggling to see that as a straight line. Do you know what I mean? I might struggle with that. So I'm going to want that a little bit more. One of the things a lot of people will do is go, oh, well, density 4 is a bit light. I'll go for density 5. I'm not going to go for density 5. I'm just going to go for density 10 because they're quite fine increments. There's not a lot of difference between 5 and 6. So if it's a little bit light, then bump it up a little bit. So I'm just going to crank it up and see if we can break the printer. I know a lot of people over the years have asked me, what's the secret and what's the trick? And I've said, I run all mine at 12 volts. To be perfectly honest with you, since Brother put the stencil mode in the printers, you can just run them on the standard power supply now. The difference between the two is very negligible. I still run mine at 12 volts only because I'm too stingy to buy the power supplies. I've got a load of old power supplies knocking about. But I find now, if you're running them in stencil mode, the standard Brother power supply, which let's be honest is a really good quality power supply. Let's just do that again. Lift that up. Give that a little, I'm going to pull that through just a little bit. Just straighten him up. Knock that in. And I'm just going to hit print again. Right, so I've gone from 4 to 10. Right. And there you go. Now it's harder. It's printed much better. But because if you think about it, this is the orientation of the paper, so this is the top. So with that amount of heat going through, in the centre of the flowers, which is the bit you could hear, in the middle of the flowers, it's getting a little bit hot. As it goes down, just a couple of times, there's a couple of spots where it's hot. Don't think that's going to be a big problem for this particular stencil, to be honest with you. Or I can go back in, I can change the density. Maybe we can change the density to 6 from 4, maybe go up in increments of 2. I've deliberately just gone, right, 4 to 10, just floor it and see, just floor it and see what happens. Yeah, see that, so you might get a little bit of this. Personally, I don't think that's a big deal. I can work with that. It's not a real problem. It doesn't have to be absolutely the thing. I can work my way through it, If you really can't, then change your density setting. Give this thing a couple of minutes to cool down and send it again. It's an A4 piece of pattern, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's not bad, works pretty good. I can print another thing out for you. And there's a lot of black on this, right? There's big chunks of black, right? So we're gonna go, we go density 6 and we'll just take a look at it. I'm not gonna send it to print just now. And this is more the kind of thing that I print every day. If it was more realistic than that I needed, I'd make a realism map over the top of it. Just to show you that how well they work straight out of a box. This hasn't, other than Liam setting it up, I haven't done anything to it. So this is how they'll arrive to you from Killer. Feel and reveal. I don't know, I think that's a pretty decent stencil for just off the top of your head. I mean, that's literally, I've done no work on that. I haven't had to do anything with it. Straight off the box? Straight off there. This is literally out the box from Killer. And I'm making stencils in, 5 minutes? Piece of cake. And they come with a 3-year warranty. Thank you very much, Paul, for showing us how to set up and use the Brother printer, as well as a bit of troubleshooting as well. So that's a bonus. So where can we catch more of you? Well, I guess links will be in the description. So I'm on social media, Instagram, Facebook. I've got a little YouTube show that I do, so you can come on over to YouTube. There's a few more Brother videos over there. And that's about it, really. Go check them out. Paul, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks very much. Now you're covered in purple. Yep. Give you a purple wave. Don't forget to like, subscribe and comment.